Greetings and welcome back to New Script on the Block. Today we have a new script from our team member Nero Manalo, and we're going to be talking about the empty grave among the mountain. Sorry.
It's mountains.
Oh, mountains.
With
Sorry,
an S.
my script was in the dark. I couldn't really read.
Because it's spooky.
It's spooky.
It's a spooky script. It's for the spooky days of Halloween.
Yeah, it's spooky days of...
I like spooky days of Halloween.
Of October.
Yeah.
And also, joining us today in place of Alyssa, we have a new member on our team. His name is Matt Tucker.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you for the first time.
I know, the first time on the podcast.
Yeah.
This is
All
exciting.
right. So, Matt has no knowledge of filmmaking, or do you have a little bit of knowledge of filmmaking?
I watch movies sometimes.
Okay.
That's
okay.
enough.
That's
enough.
That's,
All right.
that's all
I
you
qualified.
need.
Sweet.
If you
Sign
watch
me up.
movies and hate some and like some, that means you're qualified, right?
Sweet. I like horror films, so we're like,
Ooh,
seems like we're
there
on
we
a good
go.
track right now.
Awesome. So this'll definitely be something that's a treat for us to have someone that doesn't really know much about what goes into movies and whatnot.
Yeah, I'll come in like completely blind on how it all
Yeah.
works, and I get to ask really fun questions.
Yeah.
That's why you're here.
Sweet.
Ask questions.
Mainly on the script side of things.
On the script
Yeah,
side.
Oh well, yeah.
Since
true.
this is New Script on the Block.
Oh, okay. Oh.
All right, so real quick, some housekeeping. Whether you love listening to interviews with independent filmmakers, hearing unique indie film scripts, or catching a glimpse into big blockbuster scripts, we are here with those scripts.
That's a lot of scripts.
Well,
in that.
it is New Script on the Block, so yeah.
You're reading from a script.
No, I'm not.
Also, by the way, Graham is here.
Oh, yeah,
I don't think Graham said anything.
House.
Hey, Graham.
I'm just hiding in the corner.
We can see you.
Blair Witch style, just inner corner.
Oh gosh, okay, let's not do that. If you want to hear more things that you're into, leave us a comment, and we can do that. We want to know what you guys are into, so we can do more of it. All right. So there's a handful of characters. We've already kind of divvied them out. Although you were not in the room when we did that. So.
Okay. Keys.
I'll be Keys.
You're Martin Keys, I
Martin
believe.
Keys, okay.
So any of the dialogue bits where it says, Martin Keys in the middle, and then you just have to read the dialogue in between or underneath. I think Graham was Beck.
Yep.
Renee Alder is being played by Ashley Renee Hakes.
Aw.
Or Ashley Renee Rangel Hakes. Rangel Hakes.
Rangel.
Rangel.
All right.
Yeah.
And then I'll narrate.
Cool.
So just a little bit of context before we dive into this.
Mm-hmm.
So this script was actually made for a local film challenge that we had here by the IFP. I think it's the IFP Filmmaker Fusion Screenplay Challenge or something like that. Mm-hmm. So this is how the script came to be. But it was originally supposed to be maxed out at 15 pages, and I went above that. So
Overachiever.
I think it was because I let the story kind of like take over, and I really wanted to explore it more than past 15 pages. So I think that's what this is becoming. So this isn't even complete yet. We're only reading the first 20 pages I was able to hastily put together for the challenge, and then I submitted 15 pages as kind of like a part of the rules.
Got it.
There's that. And yeah, I'm still writing this, so we'll see how we feel about it after 19 pages. Like, let's see if 19 pages is good enough to
Warrant more?
warrant more. Yeah, that's good. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, thank you. Also, while we're recording this, I don't know if I've won that challenge or not yet. So by the time this episode comes out, I might have won. So take a look online to see if I've actually won this challenge.
Right.
Well, we'll let you know on the podcast right now.
I won! Yay!
Yeah.
All right, so we
That'd be
want to
fun.
dive into the script.
Yeah, if everyone is ready to go.
Okay, I'm the narrator, and here we go. So this is called The Empty Grave Among the Mountains, written by Nero Manalo. Ooh, that's me. Okay, here we go. Exterior, Mountain Peak, evening. 1978, Montana, October. Dark gray clouds swallow what little daylight is left. From the mountain's peak, a view of a dense forest. Pine trees cover the valley floor. Exterior, pine forest, continuous. Dark, quiet, and still. Below the pines, a patch of dirt is disturbed by upturned mud. Then skin. A pale limb sticks out from a shallow grave. An arm, then a knee, a leg, hair, a human body peeking from beneath the mud. Movement within the trees. An animal's bark echoes in the distance. The mud-caked face of the body stirs, eyes open, pupils dilate and dart. The half-buried figure erupts into consciousness. The figure's hand reaches out. Frost-bitten fingers dig into the soft ground. The figure crawls out of the earth. It's a woman, naked and in agony. Barking, then voices. The woman opens her mouth, drool spilling from her lips. She makes a guttural croak. Her voice is lost, but she painfully pushes out words.
Here! Here! Here!
The barking's closer. Human voices echo behind it. Alder? Renee Alder?
I am here!
The woman, Renee Alder. Oh man, that's gonna trip me up so bad.
You want to briefly say something?
Okay,
about
I'm gonna say my dyslexia, my dyslexia, dyslexia. Okay, it's supposed to be Renee Adler, but I switched 2 letters and now it's Alder. You know what? I'm gonna say Adler.
Okay,
Just because it's in my brain.
okay.
Okay?
That's
so
fine.
the woman, Renee, oh gosh. Adler, 35, pulls herself out of the muddy grave and stumbles to her feet. Sharp pain strikes her. She falls, grasping her side.
Adler, where are you?
Renee pulls her hand away. It's covered in mud and blood. Eyes widen, she smears off the mud left of her abdomen. A jagged X is revealed, carved deeply into her flesh. Renee shakes, bursting into tears. She lets out a violent scream. Multiple beams of light illuminate the scene as the search party and German shepherds finally reach Renee. Among them are the police and the bespectacled detective Martin Keyes, 40s.
Jesus Christ.
Keyes rushes to Renee, taking off his parka and draping it over her.
I got you. I got you.
Keyes holds Renee as she rides? Writhles?
Rides?
Rides. Okay. She rides from adrenaline, pain, and rage. He doesn't let go.
We're going to get you out of here.
Renee pushes her arm past Keyes. Her finger points towards the mountains. Through gritting teeth, she spits out a word.
There.
Keyes shoots his head up, looking for anything. Nothing. What little light they had from the sun is now completely eclipsed by storm clouds. The wind starts picking up. The dogs snarl at the encroaching darkness. The tree tops sway with an ominous creak.
Detective! Keys! Sir!
Keyes whips his head over his shoulder to the police. Their Remington Model 700 bolt-action rifles at the ready.
Call it in. We're getting out of here.
No! Out there. Close. Out there. Still out there.
Keyes hesitates. He looks away from Renee, back up at everyone else.
Get the helo here now. Now, damn it.
Exterior Pine Forest moments later. Through the chaos of the rescue team attempting to stabilize Renee, the radio chatter, the barking, and the beating sounds of the helicopter, Renee's eyes remain fixed on the mountains. Tears in her eyes, anger, defeat, black. Cut to interior apartment living room morning, 1979. Insert front door meticulously locked with an array of newly installed chains and deadbolts, redundantly secured. Resting at the hinges is a Remington Model 870 shotgun. The apartment itself is near empty, save for a few furnishings to serve basic needs, an armchair, lamp, coffee table, and a packed ashtray. Beyond that, isolated to the opposite corner of the living room is a large office desk and stool. On it sit stacks of binders, folders, and file boxes. Strewn about the clerical mess are pill bottles and empty glasses. Past the clutter, a door to another room stands ajar. Behind it, movement. Cut to interior, apartment, bedroom, continuous. Just like the living room, the bedroom is mostly empty. The bed is perfectly made with no indication of regular use. Cha-chink! The slide of a Browning high-power handgun returns the battery with a loaded chamber. A bandage-covered hand slides the weapon into a leather shoulder holster. A Sherpa-lined corduroy jacket conceals it. A nickel .38 snub-nose revolver follows suit, finding its home inside a waistband. The armed figure hobbles to a wooden chair that sits in the corner. With a strained heft, the figure plants her boot, conceals the knife, and returns it to the floor. Now ready, Renee Adler leaves the room. Interior Police Department office space day. Phones ring, papers shuffle, typewriters clack, the room's abuzz. Nero likes his visuals. Dang it. Detective James Beck, 28, sits at his desk, deep in a detective pulp novel. Its cover is graphic and sexy, an illustrious woman bound and gagged in the clutches of a shadowy figure. Whap! A thick manila envelope slaps the back of Beck's head. Beck flinches.
Ow, what the hell?
He looks over his shoulder. It's Detective Martin Keyes. Under his arm is a large file box, and in his hand, the envelope. Keyes swings around Beck's desk without pause.
Drop the filth, Detective. You could at least pretend to be busy.
Beck scoffs and returns to his book. Keyes raises a brow. He rests his load on Beck's desk.
If you got something to say, short-timer, go ahead and get it off your chest.
Beck looks up from his book and meets Keyes' eyes. Beck smiles.
Alright, look. I've done my time with the grunt shit, okay? Hardly the best use of my time, which fortunately happens to be coming to a close. So until then, this will have to do.
B. Keyes nods.
All right, sure.
Keyes grabs his things.
Probably for the best.
Keyes continues off and makes his way down the hall. Just as Beck returns to his novel, he spots what's labeled on the file box in tow before Keyes turns a corner. From what Beck can make out, it's labeled Gravedigger. Beck dog-ears his page and plops the book down. He twists around to see where Keyes was coming from, an unoccupied corner office. No nameplate. Beck, curious, gets up to follow Keyes. 2. Interior, Police Department, file room, continuous. Darkness. Light spills in. Keyes fumbles the door open, juggling the box on his knee while shoving himself through. Beck catches the door for him.
That the Mountain Graves case files?
Ought to stick to your novel, Beck. Like you said, you've done your time.
Keyes flips the light switch on with his shoulder.
Like hell.
The fluorescent lamps flicker to life, illuminating the stacks, steel table, and stool. It's not much of an improvement. The room remains dismal. The contents of the room, however, is neatly organized except for 5 large file boxes stacked on top of one another. They are the latest additions to the archive, labeled Mountain Gravedigger, September 16th, 1978, Kathleen Howard, 22. Mountain Gravedigger, September 22nd, 1978, Ashley H. Mercer, 29. Mountain Gravedigger, October 3rd, 1978, Rebecca Glass, 18. Mountain Gravedigger, October 12th, 1978, Lisa L. Baker, 32. Mountain Gravedigger, October 13th, 1978, Elizabeth Clare, 16.
God damn.
Beck starts to rummage through the file boxes. Keyes sets the 6th file box down on the steel table. Mountain Gravedigger, October 25th, 1978, Renee Adler, 35.
I appreciate all the extra hands around here, really. But we're in the process of shutting down.
Keyes turns around to find Beck snooping through the files.
That means the end of the investigation, Beck?
You know what they told us when they called us in?
Beck slips out one of the folders, a thick one. Bingo.
Jack shit. Froze my ass off at the checkpoints. And for what?
That's need to know.
Keyes steps in and snatches the folder out of Beck's hands. He places the folder back in the box.
Christ, Keyes. Look, all I'm asking is what the hell went down? Small town like this, why all the manpower?
B. Keyes pulls out the folder and hands it back over to Beck.
Then by all means, Detective, let's see what Great Falls Police Department's best has to offer.
Beck smiles. He flips open the folder. His smile fades. Beck comes across the crime scene photos. A muddy grave. A body disfigured, mutilated, a jagged X carved deeply into the victim's flesh. Rebecca Glass, 18, or at least what's left of her.
Shit. Are they all like this?
Keyes falls back onto a stool. He doesn't care to see the photos again. Keyes goes full report mode, reciting from memory.
Besides the graves, the marks, the fact they were all female of varying age, no other discernible patterns of the mountain gravedigger, even the marks themselves are inconsistent, along with the degree of mutilation.
Beck shoots a look at Keyes.
Saving me the trouble?
Don't want to waste your precious time.
Keyes removes his glasses and wipes his face.
5 female victims. No similarities or prior connections. Dead.
Keyes lets out a huff. He feels like a broken record. Beck looks over towards Keyes. His eyes lay on the 6th file box.
And her?
Right. There was one exception.
Keyes puts on his glasses. He swivels his stool to the file box he carried in. He pulls out a red folder and extends it to Beck.
Go on.
Putting the Rebecca Glass case folder down, Beck grabs the red folder. It's labeled in black Sharpie.
Renee Adler?
Beck opens the folder and comes across a profile sheet. He discovers
Detective Renee Adler? Shit.
Most of this is Renee's work. She was obsessed.
Beck flips through the folder. He comes across another sheet. A sketch. Beck tilts his head.
What the hell is this?
He stands from his stool, making his way to Beck. He puts a finger on the sketch.
That's an artist composite described by our best and brightest.
The sketch, barely a face. Sexless, the features look ruined, as if the artist had to erase the details numerous times to start again and again. Asymmetrical and distorted proportions. What can be made out is eyes sunken deep into a face, pupils black, the lips thin and torn. Behind them, rows upon rows of teeth, jagged and following no particular pattern.
That's the mountain gravedigger.
Keyes closes the folder and takes it away from Beck.
As I said, better to stick to your novel, Beck. I'm sure its ending's more savory.
Interior, police department, office space, moments later. Beck follows Keyes down the hall to the office space. Beck looks particularly solemn, humbled. Their conversation in the file room carries over.
She was barely alive when you found her, right? Any impairments since? Could be a prosopagnosia thing.
She's cleared all the tests, including the psyche eval.
Really?
If you ask me, she just knew what to say.
The duo reach the empty corner office. Empty except for an office desk with matching chair, a few boxes, and a woman. Renee Adler, her back towards the door. Renee lays her hand on the desk. Her desk, now void of that identity. She slides her fingers across the oak surface, finding an indent. She scratches at it. She remembers. Keyes and Beck stop at the door. Renee turns her head enough to see them walk in. Her eyes return to the desk.
You're looking better. How'd you...
Chief let me in.
Renee turns around. Her eyes meet Keyes. She glances past him to Beck.
My replacement?
No, sorry.
Beck steps forward past Keyes, hand extended out.
Detective James Beck, GFPD.
Beck's words fall flat. Renee doesn't Beck's words fall flat. Renee doesn't budge. Doesn't further acknowledge Beck's presence. Eyes back on Keyes. Beck drops his hand.
He's on loan, brought in for the manhunt. Now he's on administrative duty. Right?
Beck takes a hint.
Right.
Beck walks over to the boxes still left in the office. He starts stacking things.
How have you been?
Good, all things considered.
Well, we weren't expecting your return until...
I'm here for a few more things.
Keyes readies himself.
A few more things?
The investigation report and search grid, coordinates, my...
Keyes shakes his head.
Renee.
The only thing I'm asking for.
You know damn well I can't do that.
I need this, Martin.
You're not seriously thinking about going back there.
If I have to. We were so close, and I still am.
Enough.
Keyes takes a step forward.
That's the problem, Renee.
Renee scoffs.
Look, it's over. There hasn't been a reported death since we found you. Whoever did this, they're as good as dead.
Renee turns her head away, ripping her eyes away from Keyes.
You're done here. Take the transfer, please.
Renee pushes past Keys and out to the office space. Renee storms across the floor past the department staff. Keys steps out of the office but stops at the doorframe. He watches from a distance. Renee freezes. Something catches her eye. The pulp novel, the woman on the cover, bound and gagged by a shadowy figure. Renee picks up the book and walks away. Before exiting, Renee drops the book in the bin by the door. Keys and Beck watch as Renee leaves. Cut to exterior police department parking lot moments later. Cold, wet, and gray. Asphalt and remnants of snow. A 1964 Ford Fairlane coupe sits alone at a visitor's parking spot. Through the frosted windows, Renee walks towards the vehicle. She circles it once before returning to the driver's side. Hands by her face, she peers inside. Nothing. She disappears, taking a knee to check underneath the car. Nothing. She slides her key into the door, unlocks it, and swings the door. As I swing the page open and jumps behind the wheel. Slam. Door locks engage. She falls back on the headrest. A deep breath, an exhale. Renee closes her eyes. Interior Renee's car, parking lot, continuous. Eyes open, she jams her key into the ignition and starts the car. The car stutters to life. Through the frost-covered window, a dark figure just out of sight. It charges towards the driver's side window, growing larger and larger. An explosion of glass, a pale arm reaches through, clawing at Renee. Renee screams. Gun. Renee reaches for her holster, producing her high-power pistol. She swings it over to her temple. She sits in the car, alone. Gun to her head, window perfectly fine. Nothing. Her breathing erratic, Renee gains control. She lowers her duty weapon from her head, tossing it to the passenger seat. Renee sits in silence outside the window. Rain starts to fall. A deep breath and exhale. Renee closes her eyes. Knock, knock, knock. Renee jolts alert. Her hand slides back to her gun. She turns to the window. It's Beck.
Detective Adler?
Renee swings her door open back out to the parking lot. She vomits just outside the car. Renee staggers out.
Whoa, hey, are you okay?
Renee points her gun at Beck. Beck stumbles backward.
Jesus.
Stay the fuck back.
Whoa, easy. Take it easy.
Renee spits. She keeps the gun on Beck as she edges away from the car.
We've met. We just met, like 10 minutes ago.
Beck maintains his distance. He looks around for anyone. It's just them. Beck turns his attention back at the gun pointed at his face. He keeps his hands away from his body, palms out, submissive.
Remember, at the office, your office, right? Detective Beck.
ID, now.
Well, could I...
Renee nods. Beck produces a billfold from his pocket. He flips it open, revealing a gold police badge.
Just thought you could use some help.
She keeps the gun on him.
Who says I need help?
Hey, I'm not the one pointing a gun at a fellow officer, right?
Renee takes a step forward, cocking the gun's hammer back.
Whoa, sorry. Look, 5 dead and your old partner, Keys. Already calling it quits? You're alone here. Just saying, you don't have to be.
And what's in it for you?
I'm a cop. Got 2 days left in this dinky town. What better use of my time?
Beat. Renee flips the thumb safety on. She lowers her weapon. Beck blows a sigh of relief, dropping his arms.
You know what I need.
Done.
Know of Jackson's?
Jackson's?
Bar at the edge of town. Meet me there tonight. I won't wait long.
Jackson's. Alright, deal. Jackson's it is.
Taking her eyes off Beck for the first time, Renee looks around with methodical intent. Eyes return to Beck. Renee backs towards her car.
Stay there.
What?
Slam. Renee closes her car door. She continues to keep her eyes on Beck as the Ford Fairlane coupe pulls away and exits the parking lot, leaving Beck alone. Beck watches as the car disappears down the road into the pines. Beyond that, the mountains wait. Exterior Montana State Road, night. Pitch black, then light from an oncoming vehicle. Twirling snowflakes glow as the light approaches. Shadows retreat back to the pines just off the shoulder of a narrow road. Renee's car barrels through and past, taking the light with it. Back to black. Cut to Interior, Renee's car, Montana State Road, later. Renee drives through sleet down the winding frozen asphalt that cuts through the pine forest. Mountains loom in the distance, black against the night sky. Renee reaches a corner. A pale figure stands in the middle of the road. Renee's eyes widen. She taps on her brake, slowing her approach. The car headlights illuminate. A woman, 30s. The woman stands half naked, mud pooling at her feet. A jagged X cuts across her pale white body. From her left shoulder to groin, a long, thin laceration. A short diagonal gash from right to left completes the X across her stomach. Behind the open wounds, blackened tissue and innards. Renee stops the car, the headlights cut off just below the woman's face. The woman stands static, unmoved by Renee's presence. On the steering wheel, hands white-knuckled. Renee's frozen in place. A beat, then finally Renee steps out of the car and onto Montana State Road. Renee draws a police-issued maglite flashlight from underneath her seat. She clicks it on, letting the beam lead her steps. Renee approaches the woman, hand on her .38 tucked into her waistband. The woman doesn't move as Renee draws closer and closer. Renee stops no more than 6 feet away from the woman. She brings the flashlight up, revealing in blinding light Lisa Baker, but her bottom jaw is gone, leaving a large gaping hole leading into what's left of a throat. Heart pounding, Renee doesn't budge. Finally, a word.
Sorry.
Lisa's glassy eyes produce tears. They stream down her cheeks and fall from her upper lip. They are lost in a mass of dark flesh. Renee takes a step back, into nothing. She falls backward into a interior-exterior grave pine forest night. Renee reaches out to catch something, anything. Her fingers dig into walls of muddy earth. They slide through it, failing to halt her descent. Renee's body slaps into mud, now at the bottom of a deep grave. Renee gasps for air. She looks up. Above her, standing at the edge of the grave, Lisa Baker, Kathleen Howard, Ashley Mercer, Rebecca Glass, and Elizabeth Clare. They point down to her. Renee sinks deeper into the mud. Renee reaches out reflexively. The mud has taken most of Renee's body. She tries to keep her head above it, but to no avail. She sinks through. Black. Cut to. Interior Jackson's night.
Are you sure?
Renee jolts back to consciousness. She's seated on a stool bolted to the floor. She turns to the bartender, a young woman in her 20s, clearing her space. Bottles clinking as she works. Renee looks down, seated on a Jackson's bar coaster and empty glass.
Is there anything else I can get you?
Still in a daze, Renee's response almost automated.
No. And you?
Renee throws her head over her shoulder. It's Beck. He leans his elbow on the bar top, tucked underneath his other arm, the red folder.
Whatever she's having.
She's only had water.
Oh.
Renee slips off the bar stool, grabbing the red folder as she heads towards the booth opposite of the bar.
Whoa, what the hell?
Renee throws the folder open onto the booth's tabletop, except it's not the red folder, but a dog-eared pulp novel.
No.
Renee flips it over. A lustrous woman bound and gagged in the clutches of a shadowy figure. Behind Renee, Beck takes a step towards her. Renee digs her hand into her jacket, unholstering her handgun, its barrel back on Beck for the second time.
Hey, Renee, god damn it!
Bang, smash, an explosion of glass. The 9mm round destroys the assorted array of alcohol bottles on the opposite wall. The bartender screams as she falls behind the counter. Beck ducks down instinctively, throwing his arms across his face.
Jesus, fuck!
He looks... That's good. He looks through his arms. Renee, still behind the gun, remains frozen in place, her eyes on the papers from the red folder thrown about. They reach the bar floor, the pulp novel gone. Renee exhales.
You did it. You
I
got
did
through
it. Oh, God. I need to stop being so visual. I don't
Dude,
know.
I love it. I love how visual it is.
No.
And maybe that's because, like, I enjoy, like, I'm a cinematographer, so I enjoy the visual aspect of stories. But I love being able to see your script. And especially if you're like wanting to direct this, like it's just it's so easy to follow along, and it's so easy to see what you want.
This podcast is brought to you by Arizona Studios. Arizona Studios, a full-service video content specialist. We're here to illuminate your message and compel your audience to take the right action. For more information, head to our website at arizonastudios.com and be sure to tune in for more content on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.
So
Questions.
we have a few questions. Do you want to go first?
I can go
Greg?
first.
Okay, go for it.
So I guess this is kind of like coming up with a story. Like, what was your root idea that really like kind of branched out this story? Like, what was and how did you come across, like, what did you start with? Did you kind of start from the beginning and see where it progressed, or was there something in this story that you're like, okay, I want to build around this?
Okay, to answer your question, Graham, I don't know how I came up with the visual in 2016. I believe it was 2016 or 2015. Within 15, 16, whatever, 2000.
So a few years ago.
Yeah, a few years ago, I actually came up with a visual, and that visual was actually represented in the script, like the first 3 pages, the whole grave scene, where she Renee Adler wakes up in her grave and she like crawls out, right? That was a visual that I had in a few years ago, right? 2015, 2016. And then I like storyboarded that just to have it, that visual. I just thought of it. And what's funny is I think this even predates The Revenant, because The Revenant had a similar scene with Leonardo DiCaprio crawling out of a grave and stuff like that. I don't know which one came first. So if I came first, way to steal my idea, The Revenant. But
calling you out.
No, I just really liked that type of visceral image. I like that kind of stuff. So sometimes I think about them, and it's just anything that's very jarring to see. Like I just like that type of visuals or that imagery. Anything sort of like that will take you out of your comfort zone, or just something in contrast to whatever. Like seeing a woman like coming out alive from a grave that's muddy or whatever. But then I guess that could have been influenced by a number of other things, whether it be The Revenant when I saw it before writing this or coming up with that scene, or the scene from the Kill Bill. I'm sure Kill Bill had like she digs herself out of a grave, right?
It's been a while since I've seen it, but that sounds about right.
I don't know, but I wasn't thinking about Kill Bill or anything else. All I remember is thinking about that image of someone crawling out of a grave that's like super muddy and gross, right? So that was in 2015, 16, and then from there the IFP Filmmaker Fusion Challenge, the screenwriting challenge, it set the ground rules, and for whatever reason I said, maybe I need to revisit that image I had and see if I can come up with a story. So I guess that's kind of the origin. Yeah, the inspiration and origin of where this came from.
Awesome. So I have like one more that's kind of just like connected to that. It's kind of more is that usually how you come up with ideas? Is you see like you have one thing, or you kind of just start and see where it goes? Kind of similar question, but just based on other scripts that you write.
I think track record wise, I think it is usually one image that just burns into my brain that like I really like and I want to explore further. Maybe it's like, if once I like created that image in my head, I ask the next question, why? And then that like allows my brain to try to come up with an answer, and that answer is usually a story. So maybe that is just how my brain works when it comes to writing.
Yeah, interesting. Cool.
Where did the draft that you submitted end?
So I submitted for that challenge, and it was supposed to be at 15 pages.
Right.
So if we go back to 15 pages onto here,
That's
see.
where it ends?
Like, potentially, because I did add a little bit more since then. But from what I remember, I ended it when, sorry, I'm, like, turning pages and stuff. Okay, I submitted my first draft, my competition draft at 15 pages where Adler drives away from the parking lot. You know, I think that's where I ended.
Oh.
And that's kind of like a end of pilot episode. That was my way to get around it because it didn't say that it had to be like a complete short film narrative. It just said a screenplay competition.
Longer than 15 pages.
No longer than 15 pages. So I was like, now it's a television pilot. It's a series pilot. So I can end it right here with a cliffhanger, you know? So that was my way around it. If I won, I won. Cool. But if I lost, whatever.
Do you see this being a, like, 45-page script? Like a short story or full length?
I think I'm going to hit 30 minutes. Because where we're at, where we left off on where Renee and Beck have met at the bar, from there they're gonna kind of move forward to like finding that entity, that thing that is killing all these women and that almost killed her. I think I was kind of like on that path to like wrap it up. But now that there's more interest in it, and you know, I played around with the fact that, hey, this could be like a little mini series where it'd be like 5 episodes or whatever. Now I don't know. I'm kind of like, hey, Nero, do you want to just wrap it up, or, you know, can I squeeze the life out of this into something that's like 5 episodes? But with that being said, I think I'm gonna hit 30, and I have to hit it before the 15th. Because there's another screenplay competition going around, and this one's for Netflix. So they're asking for it's crazy. A friend sent a link or sent an image that stated like, hey, you know, what does Silence of the Lambs and all these other movies like Aliens and stuff, what do they all have in common? Strong female or a well-developed female character that goes through something traumatic or something crazy, right? And I was like, well, that fits the bill, right? So I guess that's another opportunity.
Cool.
I don't know. But I think it's asking for either like a short or a pilot or something. So whatever I come up with until that deadline, I'm going to submit, and it might be a pilot.
Awesome. Well, I think you shouldn't, like, you know, bleed it dry.
Well, maybe bleeding it dry wasn't the correct term. But if I was able to break things up, and this is kind of like how I feel about short mini series, is that because it's episodic, you're able to explore more things. But if you do it that way, you better explore things worth exploring, not just, you know, explore things I was like, why the fuck do I need to know this?
Right.
Or this no longer has the depth that I wanted.
Gotcha.
So I think that's something, you know, I got to be worried about. And for this idea, this story, like I was wondering, hey, could Martin Keyes, could he be doing something on the side?
Right.
You know, because Adler and Beck kind of have teamed up. And, you know, all these other characters, I mean, well, mainly Martin Keyes. Like, what is he doing? Why did he give up? Did he truly give up? Is he suspicious at what Renee is trying to do? If he really cared for her, he wouldn't allow this to happen, to continue forth, for her to get in trouble again.
Right. So they were partners, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So something where it kind of all connects, like something Keyes is doing in the background where it ties in somehow?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I played around with a couple ideas, so we'll see. I was actually kind of inspired by like Stranger Things on Netflix. It's just like there's like what I think makes Stranger Things so impactful or crazy and awesome is that there's multiple storylines where everyone is given a certain amount of information, but no one knows the whole story.
Right.
So I think that's really cool with any sort of narrative, and that's what helps people get interested in those narratives. Is like
Definitely.
I like horror films, so like these types of films. I like horror, like in scary monsters and vampires and Freddy Krueger, but I also like horror thriller, like Silence of the Lambs and Seven, like where it's kind of make you think, and you're like really invested in like my character, and then there's a plot twist. You're like, no way, they did that.
Yeah.
You know, like Keys could totally be like the guy that's like, this is so stupid, I'm done, I can't do this anymore. But he could be the guy that's doing all the, but like playing nonchalant, like I don't know why we're wasting any more time on this. You know, like a total spin. I mean, I don't know, but like
I think you're completely onto something because during the competition, other people who reviewed my script that was helping me, you know, with notes and everything, they were very suspicious of Beck. They're like, well, is Beck the killer? Like, why is he reading such, you know, dangerous material, like that type of subject matter? How come he's, like, interested? Why does he want to, like, you know, be involved with Renee and what she's doing?
Yeah.
So people were suspicious of Beck, but they were also suspicious, like, could Martin Keyes have anything to do with the situation?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. And
so the character I always think is like the most obvious, like, come on. It ends up being the character that's usually the least obvious or somehow like outside of the, how the hell? And you see how they spin it into the whole the equation. You're like, wow. So, I mean, yeah, definitely onto something. And I think I'd love to see where else you take this.
Yeah, so when you're done, you're gonna come back, right?
yeah, and I hope I don't disappoint anyone of what this mountain grave digger is, because, all right, exclusively for the podcast, since we're talking about
hold
developing.
Wait.
What?
Are you gonna drop something like massive right now?
Not really. It's just like what I'm playing with. We'll see. I don't know. I had the intention to make the mountain grave digger be a monster, be something that isn't human. But then, whoa.
So something supernatural.
Yeah, something
based.
supernatural. But then, like, as I'm writing, I'm like, well, a person could have been doing this. But what is a serial killer's, like, motivation? Why is he carving X's into women? Why is he picking women? And then, like, I try to develop that mystery, but then what's gonna hit, you know, what's the term I'm looking for? What's gonna fuck me over later is that I have to maybe answer those things. Like, yeah, why is an X being carved? Like, I wrote it because it was disturbing, but then I'm like, well, shit, why is it doing that? Why is it doing that? You know, right. I have to come up with a clever answer for that. Like, oh, it's liking these women because it's, you know, doing something specific. I don't know.
Right.
Like, now I'm like, shit. It's biting me in, you know, it's going to bite me in the ass later.
Well, and the fact that, yeah, Beck was the one, or Keyes or whoever was asking the questions of, like, they are not all connected. None of them fit the same characteristics and or age. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, they're all women. That's the only thing they have in common is that they're all women. Mm-hmm. So it's like, yeah, how are you going to spin that to be an answer?
Yeah.
So, the empty grave among the mountains.
Oh.
So, if you want this to be like a series, or you don't know what you want to do yet, is this specifically like her grave, and is it going to tie back in somehow, or is it just a grave of whoever's going to die? Like, and does that make sense? Like, is it?
No, I get what you mean, because coming up with a title for this thing was kind of tough, especially when I was getting to that deadline. I was like, shit, what am I going to call this? So instead of being super clever, like, oh, there's a deep meaning, I'm like, what's happening? And there's an empty grave. She used to be in a grave. It's her grave in the mountains. So that's just my like bullshit answer for a title. But then the more I think about that answer, the more it makes sense to me and it resonates with me. I like what you said, and I definitely thought about that. It's like, well, the grave that we're referring to in the title, is it hers or is it someone else's? That's a cool question. And I've definitely thought about it.
Maybe the monster's grave.
It's either hers or the monster's. Let's be real. Like, let's
Yeah.
not dance around it. Yeah.
What if Adler is the monster and she covered up all of her killings by burying herself?
Whoa!
Whoa.
Damn, Grab.
Whoa.
It's back. It's fucking back.
Sus. Very sus. Beck was ejected from. Beck was not the imposter.
Oh man, such timely references.
No, dude, I really, I don't know. That's cool. And I've definitely like played with the idea of it. And I was like, well, shit. Now I have to like figure it out. How is it gonna work that way? Like we can come up with all those answers, but then we have to figure out the journey to get to it.
Yeah.
I really like the idea. I'll play with it. So people who are listening to this, like, you are the exclusive insiders of what's probably going to happen in this script.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
I did like that that she has these hallucinations and she's feeling a lot of like PTSD kind of stuff. Like the fact that she goes around her car, looks inside the car, looks underneath the car, and like she knows there's nothing around her, but then she still has a hallucination that someone is grabbing her, and then all of a sudden snaps back to reality and is like, oh crap, there's a gun to my head. It's my gun and it's my hand with the gun on my head. So, like, the fact that she's definitely disturbed by whatever tragic thing happened to her, she's not going to stop until she finds it. That's, like, pretty obvious.
I'm really glad you like that. Like, I wanted to play around with, like, how, no matter how prepared she feels, being completely armed and her doors, like, locked a million ways, right? That these hallucinations still get to her.
Right.
And there's almost no escape from that, but she's going to try to, like, get a grip on her reality and maybe get some closure by finding whatever the thing is and stopping it,
One can only hope.
Stop herself because she is the thing.
Oh,
And that's why she keeps having hallucinations, because she's so scared that someone's going to find out she's haunted by herself.
Damn.
That's some crazy shit. I'm gonna refer back to this podcast.
Well, thank you, Nero, for being our guest.
Coming all this way.
Yeah, coming all this way from
Montana.
Montana.
What do I know about Montana?
1978. Well, thank you for joining us on this very spooky, scary episode of New Script on the Block. We hope you enjoyed that read-through of The Empty Grave Among the Mountains by Nero Manalo. And who knows? Maybe he'll have a new not iteration, but a continuation of this later on, and we'll get to read that.
Yeah. Oh, this was your first time.
Yeah.
Shit,
Did-
awesome.
did you
I even
enjoy
got to
it?
be a character. I was fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
I felt like I was in a movie.
And you were
Yeah.
good at it too. Okay, when you were reading the dialogue and you're reading the following the ridiculous amount of visual like description, did you feel like you were there and that you were that person?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
I mean, of all the dreams, I have a few dreams that I would like to accomplish in my day, but like being in a movie, right, would be like
Okay.
these and these, right? And if I get to like practice here with you,
Okay.
heck yeah! Are you serious, bro? Come on now.
There we go.
Keep writing it. Let me get in this thing.
We'll have him be he could be a speaking role, like background,
Yeah.
just to get your feet wet.
Yeah.
See if you like it.
Yeah, like a voiceover. That's great. Let's do
Yeah.
it.
Oh yeah, there we go.
There you go.
Love it.
Just to get my feet. Let me throw me in the deep end. Get my feet.
You
wet.
are the serial killer.
Oh God.
All right. Cool with that. I'm good.
All right. Well, you will. No, wait. Hold on. How do we end this thing?
Goodbye.
No, wait.
How about let's insert Alyssa's
All right,
video?
Alyssa, take it away.
Thanks,
your
folks, for listening. It's been such a pleasure. And if you have any comments about the story, feel free to send them in. Again, you can send them to info@arizonastudios.com. Feel free to comment where you're listening to podcasts. If you're listening on SoundCloud or YouTube, if you're listening on iTunes, then, get to a safe location and then send us that information via email. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share this podcast, please. We'd appreciate it. And thanks again for tuning in. You'll hear us next time.